So here we go, taking a little late afternoon, early evening cruise. I'm not going to go too far. I only have 39 miles for fuel range here, and I don't want to go by gas. Well, maybe I will, but I'm not going to buy it right now. I want to talk about why I got into riding motorcycles. Why do I like motorcycles? I did a video earlier on why I bought an Indian, or why someone would buy an Indian. So let's take it to the next segment of that discussion and talk about why would somebody ride a motorcycle? What got me specifically into motorcycles? And I think it's probably started way back when I was a kid and riding a bicycle everywhere I went. Growing up as a kid in the 80s, there really wasn't anything much to do other than get on the bicycle and ride. And I lived in a very, very, very rural mountain town in south central PA, where I lived for most of my life until about 6 years ago. But anyway, that's what we did as kids. We rode our bicycles all over creation, and we played in the woods, and then we rode our bicycles some more. Even after some of the video game consoles started coming out, we were all still bicycle guys. When we got a little older, my best friend's father bought them a Honda Big Red 3-wheeler, and that started my love of everything motorized. I never had one myself as a kid because my family just didn't have that kind of money, but everybody I knew had a 3-wheeler and then a 4-wheeler and then some dirt bikes and mini bikes, things of that nature. And when I got to be my own man, or when I got to be an adult, we'll say, I bought several 4-wheelers and loved every minute of those. And then eventually I just bought a motorcycle. But I would say if I had to pick one crucial moment in my life regarding my love of motorcycles, or what sparked that love, was taking a ride on the back of my uncle's Sportster 1000. It was an old Ironhead Sportster. Forget the year. I'm thinking it was like a 79 or 77, mid to late 70s Sportster. And as a 12-year-old kid, I was just literally starstruck by that motorcycle. It was loud, it was obnoxious, it was black, and it was the coolest thing I'd ever seen in my life. Even later on in life, as I started to learn a little bit about motorcycles, I still had that moment in my head that impressed me. Like, it was kind of like tattooed on my brain to always revere that motorcycle. So that's how I started into motorcycles. The very first bike I ever bought was a 2006 Dyna Wide Glide, and I rode the living guts out of that thing. I loved it. It was comfortable. It was loud. It was a pretty blue, lots of chrome. It was not the black Ironhead Sportster that my uncle had 20 years earlier, but it was my own version of just being tough and loud and a Harley guy. And years later, here I am, 16 years later, on my black, chrome, and loud V-twin motorcycle. Only this time it is the Indian, and I won't go into that any more than what I already did the last time I talked about Indian versus Harley. You can go check that video out below. But I'll never forget being that 12-year-old kid climbing on the back of my uncle's Sportster as we screamed down the mountain highway to the next town. Just all that bike would go. I was just so impressed, and I knew from that day on that I would have my own version of that. So, and I've never gotten over it. And I feel like I finally got to a point where I've peaked as far as comparing my life moments to that moment as a 12-year-old kid on the back of that old Ironhead Sportster. So Pete, if you're watching this, or if you ever watch this, you're the one that sent me on this two-wheel journey. And I know I've told you that story before, but that's why I choose to ride motorcycles. And even today, you know, in my late 40s, I still, in a lot of ways, feel like that 12-year-old kid strapped to the back of that Ironhead Sportster. I still get that feeling of irreplaceable joy and the thrill and fun and excitement that only this can provide. Cars are great, trucks are awesome. You know, there's nothing else. If I had to give up every hobby or interest other than the bare necessities of life, eating and food, water, and shelter, if I had to keep those and give up everything else but one thing that I enjoy, it would be keeping this motorcycle. Definitely a motorcycle, but if I could pick one thing that I find complete joy in, it would be this bike. Or motorcycles in general. I'm sure there's something else out there that I would find equally as fun and exciting as this, climbing on it and riding it, but today, being that this is what I have, this is what I would choose. So, could it be a Road Glide? Sure could. Could it be a Lowrider ST? Sure could. Could it be my Kingpin sitting in my garage with, you know, $10,000 worth of motor work on it and a bunch of stuff upgraded on it to make it into a tire burning monster? Absolutely it could. But God has blessed me in life to be able to have all of those motorcycles rolled together in this Indian Challenger. And I kind of think it definitely is the sum of all those bikes that I just mentioned. It's not as cool, we'll say, as a hot rod, a Lowrider ST or a Lowrider S. It's not quite as fast as my Kingpin would be if I'd take it to like the Vic shop or Lloyd's and have a humongous motor built and put in there. But it's darn fast. It handles better than most bikes in the V-twin class, let alone any of the bikes that I mentioned, and it's plenty comfortable. Like, it would outdo comfort on either the Kingpin or that Lowrider ST, or even the Road Glide, as far as that goes. The Road Glide would give this bike a run for its money in a lot of categories, but overall performance and comfort, I'd still give the nod to this. So this is still the bike for me. Yeah, I've had it for 2 weeks, why wouldn't it still be? But, you know, this is the culmination of many other bikes that I've always wanted, and compared to, but still outdoing them in my mind and in my heart in a lot of ways. This still gives me the 12-year-old boy feeling when I ride it, and I hope it always does. So when the day comes that I can get on a motorcycle and I not get that feeling that I got when I was 12 riding the back of that old Sportster, is the day that I sell them all and never get on one again. That's pretty much it in a nutshell. That is motorcycling to me through and through. So if you ever wonder why I love riding so much, it's because it makes me feel like I'm 12 on the back of a 1978 or whatever 70s model Ironhead Sportster with my uncle when I was a kid. That's how it makes me feel, and it's irreplaceable. So maybe you could go and try that out. Maybe there's a motorcycle out there or a memory in your head that could tie you to an irreplaceable moment in your past, and you could find yourself emotionally connected to a machine because that machine ties you to your childhood past. Maybe it's something else out there. Maybe it's a car, truck, an old antique rifle or shotgun that used to be your grandfather's, or maybe it's your house, maybe it's your pets or your something, I don't know. But this is what does it for me. So if you're ever wondering why, that's why. And if you're not wondering why, I still hope you watch and listen and get a piece of what makes me tick, because this is it. Anyway, check back in with you in a couple of days. I hope these videos are entertaining enough for people to keep coming back and watching. If so, like, share, subscribe. I'm trying to build a channel, and hope to see you real soon. Stay safe.